All right, hello, welcome to day 106 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Thomas Lynch Jr, and we're going to get right underway. Continuing on the unfortunate events with Notre Dame Cathedral. I've seen the movie, the black and white movie, Hunchback of Notre Dame and all that. Oh boy, now there's revivals and prayers and things. Funny things about humans. It really takes us a catastrophe to get us focused. I read a little devotional most times before I go to work. You'll always find my nose in a book or something. And so this devotional's on the New Testament, and I'm in Revelations, and the things that go on there. Oh, so much shock value, and you see the people, believers and non-believers, coming to that new spiritual space with God. What's it going to take for black folks to wake up, to galvanize, to come together? We thought King Jr. might have had a shot. Obama, nothing to get us to say, you know what, this is what we want collectively. Okay, so maybe a catastrophe will get us marching in lockstep with one another forward. Right now, we got a long way to go, and I'll tell you what, for black folks, it's going to take a nuclear solution. Something's going to have to go nuclear to get us on into that space. All right, we're going to continue on with our series with the signers of Declaration of Independence. Let's get our introductions out of the way. Again, I'm Thomas Lynch Jr. I'm doing this year-long study, commentary, Black life. We're looking at the history, present, economics, past, behaviors, stereotypes, definitions of marginalization, a lot of things. Two major thoughts have emerged in going on this 106th day. First thought has two parts. The first part is the black slave mind being passed from generation to generation, and I've got some irritants at work that may bear witness to that, but I'm biased, so I want everybody to do their own research to find out if that's true. Stick around here, you'll know where I stand on conditioning and passing on attitudes, but you do your homework. Flip side of the same coin is the white mind of privilege, entitlement, expectation of favor being passed on from generation to generation. Do white people, is it so normal for them to always be to get what they want, that for this Disneyland of a country to yield to them? Is that a normative place for white folks? And then my second thought is concern for financial literacy. I'm finding myself, the more I educate myself financially, the better armed I am, the better capable I am of moving on and now navigating It's something about that dollar in America, how it's elusive in a sense. I mean, the information is out there now, um, but it's elusive. People aren't talking about it. It's the lifeblood of what it means to exist, especially in America. It's absent in mainstream public education. Um, that may be by design or not. I feel like it is and whatnot. Those are some of the things, two major thoughts that come out as I continue this project. I'm motivated by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. Now he's much more articulate about the racial aspects, historical aspects of the black problem in America. I agree with him wholeheartedly. I feel he's missing the financial illiteracy aspect, but you got to start. You got to get people, black folks, to understand the facade. They need to get behind the facade and believe and understand what's happening to them systemically in America. But I'm not knocking his work. I'm absorbed in his videos, and I bought 3 of his books immediately after I started broaching his material. First book I wrote was a Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power, and Economic Justice, and his national plan to empower Black America, Powernomics.com, or you can find him at Powernomics.com. I just rolls off. Book is Powernomics, not his national plan, but you can find him, yes, at Powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. We also take a fictional look at slave life in America, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work. It's a fictional account of slave life, but I'm sure there's a lot of factual scenarios in there, from, handing a slave, your uppity slave, a slip to go to the lasher. I forget what they call them, but we're going to get to that. To blackface, we get as far as informing theater. Oh, stereotypes of black folks and white folks. The wrong usage of the pejorative way we use Uncle Tom. We're not actually referring to Uncle Tom when a black man, especially, is being niggerish. That's not Uncle Tom at all. So we walk through that. After we get done this series, we're going to get back in there. Now that we're almost a third of the way through the year. Behind me, hashtag us too. This is find black women gathering, connecting there. Oh, Black Enough, BLAGGENUF. Another space to find your black support. And it's the information age. If you found me here on YouTube, you can find your flavor. So don't hesitate. I'm not the end all and be all. I'm just, well, this is my little pressure relief valve. I thought I was going crazy there for a minute. I didn't understand the ceilings I was hitting. I couldn't break through. I wasn't allowed to break through. I couldn't articulate how I was feeling. It always came out jumbled and confused. Nobody was listening. My community is mostly white, so they don't get it. And I don't get it. Man, what's it like to navigate half as much mental issues, economic issues, and succeed to go in and out, up and down so freely? What's that like? Oh, majority of black folks bearing the majority of the dysfunction of the nation, yet we are a official minority. We're a minority. Hispanics have overtaken us. Asians don't do business with us. Um, White folks just are up there. Yeah. So, and black folks are asleep and not behaving rightly, killing off each other. The black folks are going to need a nuclear situation to get every black folk to come together, me included. I'm very standoffish. I've got my issues as well, being black. You know, so it's a mess. What it's this abiding Holocaust for black folks, and we don't see it. I thank God for Dr. Anderson to articulate these things and at least give us less of an excuse now to be so ignorant out there. Okay, day 106. Going alphabetically, we have two Toms. We'll be coming to some interesting pairs here as we go through this list. The first Tom, Thomas Lynch Jr. Interesting little nugget that I found with this representative from South Carolina. He was born in 1749, one of the youngest signers, if not the youngest signer, of the Declaration of Independence. But we're not sure about his death. This is our first MIA signer. He sailed east for Europe 1779 and was never heard from again. And which is not, they don't, right? It's not like today where a politician goes down at sea. They can send submarines and sonars and radars and everything. It's if a ship didn't come in, you know, voyages are dangerous. High degree of danger back then. But I'm guessing it was also like flying in airplanes. They say you're safer in a car than you are. You're safer in an airplane statistically than you are in a vehicle. And I've seen a lot of vehicle accidents. The problem with planes is that everybody dies. that's that's the problem with planes. But when you're crossing the Atlantic in a wooden ship and all that, you're hoping that old Bessie is well built, that the crew is competent, that privates aren't going to jam you up, a storm ain't going to come up. A lot of stuff going on. So him disappearing, heading eastward on the Atlantic, tragic, but not a big deal. Not a big deal. Served on the Continental Congress with his father, and you had the gatherings we talked about last time, the Continental Congresses and all these things, these titles over there, as America is finding its identity. It's still meeting in Philadelphia, headquarters there and all that. He was a wealthy guy from politics, lawyer, but father was a politician. Politics, it does, open wealthy doors. I don't know how or why, but you don't, it's exposure and, it's the power's there, so I'm guessing doors open better. Bernie Sanders, some current events. Bernie Sanders is now a millionaire, and they attribute his financial status to his political activity. Connecting that somehow. And most politicians, they're business owners, lawyers, and things like that. They're financially literate. They understand the structure, and live they can move in that and be successful in good and bad times. You know, you ain't hear no politician crying the blues through any um, market crashes and stuff like that. They ain't going to breadline soup kitchens, homeless shelters. They're in place for a reason, and they have the politics of financial literacy moving them on. He's educated in England, not surprising. Remember, it's a good old boys club, and a lot of them uh, studied abroad. Um, he was supported the South Carolina Constitution, and some of these states were already getting their feel for autonomy and stuff like that. It was a problem in his day when he was a part of this constitution, because the loyalists were objecting, and there's that period you're kind of on the cusp of whether England's going to be your enemy or your friend in economics and things like that, and people were vacillating and still trying to get their head around their allegiances. So a lot of people, the relationship with Great Britain had declined, but a lot of people were expecting it to revive and come back. He led the First South Carolina Regiment, 1775. So they're arming themselves, getting ready for war. But he was sickly. His father was sickly as well, and so he couldn't finish his post. As far as slaves and religion in South Carolina, further south you go, more normal heavy-duty slavery is up north. It's more industrial, and then the slaves are servants and fewer, and there's more free black folks. So we don't get much feedback from him about slaves, and religion is not mentioned in the research. We're coming out of Wikipedia, and I'm guessing he was just another guy too busy. A lot of these guys are real busy. They have a resume of being in and out of public offices in their respective states or colonies. And he signed just to do the will of the people of South Carolina. That's what the representative is supposed to do, represent the people. The people send. And this is a big thing too in this country's time. We're going to see it more in the next interviewee, is that the people wanted more control, and that this is across the board, and through all levels of America. They did find England's failure, at this monarchy was not working. because one guy surrounded by sycophants and uh, yes people all the time, the needs didn't get through until it was a riot. That shouldn't have to become a riot to get your needs met. Especially this leader is sitting in opulence and security and wealth, plenty of food, probably cleanliness and stuff like that. There needs to be some sensitivity. So um, as early America is going through its birth pangs and throes and all of that, more of the conversation is about voting, inclusion for white folks anyway, men, uh, white men. We're getting to that point where we understand the problem with any out group is that uh, being able to have the rights and privileges of white men are hard. That's a hard thing to glean. Most white men don't want that. That's their good old boys club. And a whole lot of landmines and a landscape to navigate to come to that. But at least that there is more altruistic inclusion, the prevailing mindset going through the land. We have a say. We sent you there. Um, and it's stuff you're talking about the human condition that once people get into position, into a certain place, then ownership kicks in, entitlement, and they kind of forget why they got there, who they're supposed to represent. We see that today in um, in politics and all that. Suddenly everything is top secret. Um, uh, Servants drafted by our leaders are now they're making the decision on whether to release or withhold documentation and stuff. And there's court battles. It's like, let's have some transparency. What's so top secret? You know, what's this ongoing investigation? How much money are you spending towards that? Is the dude guilty or not? I'm in favor of more executions. These guys, these white men mostly wipe out stuff, are obviously guilty. And I'll say mental or otherwise, they got to come off the grid, man. Why do they get they get such a bonus for this, and it's about keeping some systems alive and profitable. Is what it is. I get it financially, but it doesn't look good from my side. Is this a person that's never? Are you going to release this person? Are they going to rehabilitate that individual? They got to come off the grid. They got to come off the grid. We do this. Sad thing about this will of the people. Interesting that I would land on this, but one sad sign of it is the privatization of the prison systems. Like, wow. I wonder if I can go on. I invest. I wonder if I can go online and invest in the penal system. That's a sure thing. It's privatized. They're going to keep the certain traps out there for the ignorant. I fell into those traps. Had my little piece of probation and arrest and stuff like that. But what's the will of the people? You know, you know, what's the will of the people? Next guy up, we're pretty sure how this guy died. He didn't just disappear. It's interesting. I didn't know of all these signers. We find these little things, and Thomas Lynch Jr. And the thing is, in his sickliness, he never kind of recovered from that first regiment post, and so he was going to improve his health. They felt he could go east to improve his health. Arizona and the dry states out west had not kind of gotten off the ground just yet, because he could have stayed on dry land and tried to get together. Next guy up, Thomas McKean, and 1734 to 1817. He's got a good couple years behind him. We found another older gentleman yesterday, governor of Pennsylvania, and he flip-flopped between Pennsylvania and Delaware. He's very involved in politics, both states and colonies there. He's noted as one of the outspoken, charismatic guys of the group. You know, if you're kind of coming up the steps in Philadelphia to one of these Continental Congresses and gatherings of representatives, and there's a ruckus, and his voice is probably the loudest. He'll challenge you to duels. They're dueling back then. Fighter, this alpha charismatic guy, and it really comes out in the research in Wikipedia. He planted the seeds of the idea that the colony or state has the same voting power as other states. So Rhode Island has the same power as New York or Pennsylvania. He had a one-vote system. He said, look, no matter the size, you get one vote. I think we see this in our modern day. It's the Senate, where each state has 2 senators, regardless of size, 2 senators. And those, so there you get the Senate, you get 100 votes together. Just 100 votes from the states. I think like Puerto Rico, some of our other provincial areas of the world don't necessarily vote, but the 50 states have 2 senators, 100 votes in the Senate. Boom, boom, boom. The House is different. The House is based on numbers of people. A different thing going on in the House, but the Senate, every state has 2 people in there. He was an outspoken advocate of severing ties with Great Britain. Most of his work, you could say, politics, was done in Pennsylvania. That may have an impact. No say on religion or slavery. He has a very extensive political resume, so his politics and activity kept him pretty occupied. And he signed, as I have here, present leader of the Delaware General Assembly. So I'm a little skewed and mixed up whether when he signed, was he representing Pennsylvania or Delaware. My research is usually better, but that's kind of what I mean. He both states were in his interest and his ambit. So that's it doesn't matter. These guys, there's only 13 colonies or whatever. So a lot of guys from places came together. You know, it wasn't 13 guys. We got 56 guys doing this. And it doesn't matter. We're just doing our best to piece together. You know, where does slavery? Because the slavery issue is important, and let's see the foundations. And I do this particular series because Dr. Anderson, you know, he talks in his story and his introductions about certain select white guys going into kind of a back room and making sure the slaves are explicitly excluded from any of the rights and privileges of this brand new white nation. Uh, when we get back into some of Dr. Anderson's work and stuff, we're going to see, you know, it was intended to do that. When we look at the early Maryland and some of the edicts and codes that came out to exclude black folks. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. Thanks for hanging with me again. It's great to hear from you, and see ya. Please like or whatever. We'll see about me getting more involved or with some of the technical aspects of this. I know I'm not using YouTube to its potential, but we'll get to that. I'm into the grassroots, bare bone expression and delivery of what's going on here. Come back tomorrow, and we'll check out 2 more guys and see what interesting facts emerge. Take it easy. Bye-bye.